Welcome to the only live Bearcats post-game show on YouTube. This is Chatterbox Bearcats. Dear Scott, I'm sorry, Scott. I'm sorry that I did not think you were the right man for the job. I listened to the Louisville fans who wanted to run you out of town, and I now realize that you inherited a dumpster fire at Louisville, and you left the program better than you found it. I'm sorry I didn't see your vision, Scott. I'm sorry I said you should be leading the Boy Scouts and not coaching Division I college football. You're our guy, Scott. What you've done in the portal has changed my life. Scott, I need you. I love you, Scott. We're happy to have you. Bearcats 5-2. Dear Scott, thank you. Houdini, your apologies to Scott Satterfield for saying he should be on the hot seat?
I would like to apologize to absolutely no one. I've always been a Scott Satterfield guy. We know this, okay? He inherited a dumpster fire. Fickle left us for dead. We'd beat Wisconsin right now. The second Sorsby came in on his white horse, I knew things were going to be looking good for the Cats. And today, man, that's a W and a cover. You got to love that.
That's a 10-point win. Bearcats 24, Sun Devils 14. Welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. UC fans are celebrating this weekend in the city of Cincinnati. Why don't you go see a light show or something? Because Bearcats won by 18 in basketball yesterday over Ohio State. Of course, we will have the recap of that one at the end of this show. We did it from the floor yesterday, but the audio was just absolutely atrocious. For that, we apologize, but we make up for it today on the postgame show. Let's run through this thing, man. Bearcats win 24-14, and the big talking point from your pregame show with Eric Lilly was about punching the ball out. How the Cats lead the Big 12 in forced fumbles, how they have more forced fumbles than like 5 teams combined that are at the bottom of the league in that statistic. They do it again today, down 7-0. I thought Arizona State had a chance to really start to control the game if they could put some points on the board. Brendan Sorsby had just thrown an interception. Arizona State has it in their own 20. Ball goes on the ground. Who was it punched out by? Antoine Peak Jr. Cats land on it, and from there, it was pretty much all Cincinnati going out to a 10-point win. How about it, man? Your overall thoughts from watching this one go down?
I don't know. It did not start out pretty. I know we wanted to, like every coach in the history of football, get out to an early lead to control the game. That was not the case. Quick 3-and-out. Very few 3-and-outs that we've seen all year. And then Sorsby goes and throws the pick after they scored, and then they were driving. And that fumble changed everything. The thing about this game, though, dude, you put up a goose egg in the second half, you got to finish games. The amount of times that we've done this where we look like I don't know if we're just, taking the foot off the gas in the second half, but when we're playing a better team and maybe not Jeff Sims, you're going to lose that ball game if you put up 0 points in the second half. We should never be doing that with our four-headed monster, like we always like to say.
Let's kind of run through how this game went. So Bearcats get it back down 7-0 after forcing the fumble. Brendan Sorsby goes with a little read option, rushing TD, takes it in. It's 7-7. Then Arizona State, these bozos on the road in the first quarter, inside their own territory, decide to go for it on 4th and 3. Golday crushed them for a loss. UC gets the ball back. Nathan Hawks hits a 46-yarder. It's 10-7 UC. Cincinnati gets it back again. 55-yard rush from Evan Pryor. It's 17-7. 4th and short again for Arizona State. UC once again stuffs them. So I got to say this as I hold up the Cincinnati Bearcats' old Big East Conference Championship ring. Game ball. Ronnie Bass. No, game ball to the defense, man. How about it? A defense that gave up 44 to Texas Tech, and we were very worried about what this side of the ball was bringing to the table for UC. Then we get an emergence from Golday. Antoine Peak looks incredible. Jared Bartlett's all over the field. Gala Collard looks good. And all of a sudden, it looks like Tyson Vite's got a little something with this defense. That's now back-to-back games where I guess there's one thing in common, backup quarterbacks, but UCF UC keeps them in check. And then Arizona State, who've been scoring at a decent clip this year, they couldn't really do anything. Even their rushing attack wasn't anything special. UC controls the line of scrimmage. They control the time of possession, 34 minutes to 25 minutes. That's just a good old-fashioned get it done.
It would have been different with Levitt in there for sure. But I still think even, Jeff Sims isn't, he's played plenty of college football and at a high level. So he's not like a typical backup. He's a relatively decent. And to bottle up Cam Scatahu, he only had, look, he actually looked pretty damn good, but he only had 75 yards. I'll take that. He had a couple ridiculous runs. That one that we had him stopped at like the 8-yard line and he just shouldered the shit out of like 3 Bearcats players. That was pretty incredible. But from the defense, you're right, man. It was peak. Thompson looked good. Bartlett, Golday. There was a ton of guys. Corleone obviously always looks great. The defense, I did not anticipate this. I didn't think we could turn the page on this defense, but it looks like we're kind of sneaky good.
We're kind of sneaky good in the Big 12, man. Forget just bowling. We have aspirations. Never say never. A massive one's coming up in Colorado next week. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's kind of run through the box score. Sorsby, 23 of 31, had 206 yards and an interception, did have 7 rushes for 26 yards and 2 TDs on the ground. What was your overall takeaway from Sorsby today? Even when he doesn't play his best game statistically, you still feel pretty comfortable with him out there leading the offense.
Oh, yeah. I very comfortable. He had a couple, the announcer even mentioned it, on some of those streak routes where he was throwing a little bit inside. He was slightly off, but he doesn't seem to lose any confidence when he throws an early pick. And half of those, I don't care. Hey, if we want to do a 50-50 bowl, it was more like a punt, really, on that 3rd and 7. So it didn't really affect the game much. We were going to kick it anyway. His pocket presence, the way he can run, he had a couple great runs again. He controlled the game. He did what he had to do. I'd love to see him throw for a couple of touchdowns, but hell, he had 7 carries, 26 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. So we'll take it, man.
Hudson, we got Sharon Peters, our friend Sharon Peters in the chat today. She's asking if you could take your shirt off. What's it going to take? Is it going to take a win over the Muskies this year for you to take your shirt off? Sharon?
Yeah, we got to. Sharon, I really appreciate that. The tarps will come off. We can't do it in an Arizona State game. We got to save that for something real special. I don't think you're going to be very impressed, but when the time comes, the tarp will come off. Sharon Peters, what a great gal. What a great gal. We love you, Sharon.
Houdini's got a lot of tats underneath that tarp, Sharon, so be waiting for it. Let's start with Corey Kiner before we get to Colorado, because he had 22 carries for 99 yards. Pryor, as I mentioned, had the long of 55. Receiving-wise, Royer did what he does, 4 for 41. Xavier Henderson, 8 for 67. And Cincinnati turns it over just the one time in the game. So you'll absolutely take that as UC pretty much dominates every statistic. They improve to 3-1 in the Big 12. They jump Arizona State in the standings, considering we hold the tiebreaker, and the Bearcats are now 5-2. And when you look at the Big 12 standings, it's BYU at undefeated at the time of this recording, and I guess they won against Oklahoma State on Friday, so that won't change. Iowa State's 3-0, Texas Tech's 3-0, Cincinnati is 3-1. So tied right there in that next tier. So the teams you want to be rooting against, Iowa State, Texas Tech, BYU. Somehow, some way, if Cincinnati can, get into Iowa State with an unblemished record, you never know, man. You never know. In that intro video, you saw it. The best things come with this program when you least expect it. And I'm kind of believing in Scott Satterfield. I know I'd wrote him off. Beginning of the year, it never really felt like a clean hire. It just felt weird. Felt weird the way we took him from Louisville, when Louisville is somewhat of a, lateral move, it felt like. And it's his 4th year there. He kind of has Louisville rolling, at least in terms of making the bowl games every year. He's got all his guys in there. And then he comes to Cincy, and I'm just thinking, like, what are we doing here? Hiring Scott Satterfield instead of a young, upstart coach. But Scott Satterfield was the young upstart coach at Appalachian State before he came to Louisville. I said, we got to give him a chance, because there's no way that they're, even if he loses in Oxford after we had lost to Pittsburgh, there's no chance that he's getting fired this season. So you got to rally behind the guy. And at this point, I think he really saved any sort of anxiety going to sleep at nights through the remainder of the season I mean, Bearcats could lose out. They're not going to, but they pretty much could. And you'd say, you know what? It was a successful season. We saw some light. And if they lost out, it would not be successful. It would be atrocious. But you know what I'm saying, man? Like, since he's on the right path, they're at the top of the standings. And a win over Colorado next weekend, and you never know, man. You never know. They're going to have some pivotal games towards the end of the season if they can win that game, with that being a pivotal one. But your overall stance on where this program sits right now, having succeeded in the transfer portal, and just, giving Arizona State a little spanking to all those journalists out there, those big J's from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. Report on that, Al. Go Cats.
They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I lived out in Scottsdale for a couple years, and trust me, they're going to forget about this loss in about 12 seconds. They're going to go outside the palm trees. The sun's going to be shining. They're going to have a couple daiquiris. They'll be just fine. Arizona State, we love you guys. But as far as the program in Scott Satterfield, it really helps when you get a quarterback that's an absolute dog. It can make any coach look like a genius. And when you got Sorsby back there, I don't care what other weapons. If you don't have Sorsby, this team doesn't move. Having him changes the dynamic completely. And people forget, as we have Colorado coming up, the coaching pool of targets when Fickle left. Obviously, we would have got. Why am I blanking on his name? The Notre Dame coach now. Come on, Freeman. Obviously, Marcus Freeman would have been the no-brainer, but it didn't work out timing-wise. The coaching pool was very, very small. I mean, we were looking at what? Like the guy from Kent State? No thanks.
Jesse Mentor was one.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think based on what we had and what I've seen from Dion, it's a circus over there. Hell, I know they got Travis Hunter and they got some good players, but I don't think I need that. Where you're talking shit about your own players that are transferring. It's actually hilarious, but I don't think I want it at Cincinnati. So I think Scott Satterfield was the right guy based on the people that were available. And look, man, he's got this thing going in the right direction. 5-2, if you would have told me that to start the season, and we're what, two possessions away from being undefeated? You got to love where we're at right now, man.
Yeah, I hate, looking back in hindsight, that Pittsburgh game. They should have won. And Pittsburgh's ranked. We were saying Holstein sucks. All of a sudden, he's like a top 10 efficient quarterback in the country, and Pittsburgh's undefeated. All those Pittsburgh fans, they were right. I hate it, man. I hate it. Give him the credit. But Shedeur Sanders, he's the quarterback for Colorado. If you do not know who Shedeur Sanders is, time to climb out from under your rock, Patrick Starr, because he is electric. He's got 17 touchdowns through the air, 4 interceptions, 2,000 yards. And then their main receiver, Travis Hunter, 49 catches for 587 yards and 6 touchdowns. It's nice to play a team with an aerial attack and see what we can do up in Boulder. Colorado has Arizona at 3 p.m., so by the time you're listening to this podcast in the morning, they could be 5-2, they could be 4-3, but this is a massive game. Bearcats win it, and the schedule looks as such. They would be 6-2 if they can beat Colorado. They'd be bowl eligible. At this point, we'd be playing for potentially a Big 12 championship, which sounds absolutely insane, but if you have one loss, there's a good chance you're playing in that game if Texas Tech can lose and some other things go right. But it would be at Colorado. Then it's West Virginia at home and Cincinnati. West Virginia 3-3. Then it's at Iowa State. That obviously just an uphill battle. But Cincy's look good, man. They've been in every game they've played in. They, quite frankly, like you mentioned, should have won every game. So who's to say that we can't hang with the number 9 team in the country, Iowa State? After that, it's Kansas State, who's 5-1. Then we host TCU. So, yeah, number 9 and number 17 back-to-back. Those are going to be 2 really tough games. But the only way to really make them matter in terms of what your ultimate goal is to beat Colorado on Saturday, October 26th at 9:15. How the hell are we going to do a post-game show for that one, man?
10:15 Eastern, dude. So, and this is going to be we're actually bumping to the prime time slot. Granted, it's 10:15, but we're on ESPN, so you can cancel your ESPN Plus subscription for this game. Yeah, we're going to be drinking. I was saying it to Lily on the pregame show. Start drinking your coffee now. Get your body acclimated if you don't drink coffee, because it's going to be a late one. I mean, what would we do the live show at 3 a.m? I mean, I don't know. But it's going to be all eyes on us. Massive everything with Colorado gets the media attention. So we're going to be on the stage, and hopefully we can ball out. I am terrified. We have not seen a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders. So
What are you talking
all
about?
due
Eli
respect
Holstein.
to Oh, please. I know. I'm not saying Eli Holstein's fine. I refuse. He had like a 12 QBR last game. All right. They still won, but it is what it is. Shedeur Sanders is an elite. I mean, he's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. And I think it's going to end up being a shootout. Um, our defenses look good, but Shedeur is no Jeff Sims. He's going to be slinging it. He's got weapons all over the field. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but hey, with this defense, if they can get a couple of stops, I think we're in a good spot. But the second half play calling and the offense needs to get much better. You're not beating Colorado with 24. I promise you that.
Yeah, that's what scares me. Second half play calling, pretty much this entire year, when Cincinnati has leads, it seems like they just kind of get into a shell and they play to win the game instead of to run away with it. They get a little timid with their play calling. And then, of course, when they had the opportunity to not be timid, to be a little conservative, to kick a field goal to go up 13, they go for it on 4th and goal, and they're running, they're running option pitches, which is dangerous to potentially go the other way and really change the momentum. So there are some things that I don't love. Don't get me wrong. But hey, Scott, 5 wins. We'll absolutely take it. One thing that terrifies me, another thing, I should say, is the Nathan Hawks experience and what's going on at the end of every single first half, man. You see their 2-minute offense is great. It gets them into field goal range. They have chip shots. And now, I think this is 5 of the last 6. 5 of the last 6, they've missed a field goal at the end of the first half. I mean, what the hell are we doing?
You got to start wondering if Nathan Hawks might be the guy you bring in when you got to kick a 50 plus. And I can't even remember the poor kid's name that they benched. There might be a conversation where
Carter Brown.
Carter
From
Brown.
Wells
There might
Fargo,
be a
yeah.
conversation where Carter Brown might have to take over some of these duties because I have zero faith that I know we crowned him the next Justin Tucker, maybe a little prematurely, but he makes me very nervous. He's missed a ton of field goals. He's got the leg. It's the accuracy is a problem. So I'm certainly worried about that because in a lot of games that's going to come back to bite you. I mean, hell, we lost 2 games by a total of 4 points. So yeah, field goals are important. So maybe we need to revisit that.
All right, fellas, this is an incredible weekend. And when we were doing the Texas Tech post game, I remember a Red Raiders fan commented, like, you guys are talking about basketball after a football game? And my response to him was, hell yeah. We got a hell of a basketball program, Red Raiders. Sorry about it, A. And B, we got a hell of a team this year. Wes Miller and the boys taking down Ohio State 80-62. Houdini and myself were in the house for the game. I drove all the way in from Chicago and all the way back this morning just for one exhibition game. That's how much I care about what they were playing for, mental health, and also how much I wanted to see the Bearcats in action, and they did not disappoint whatsoever. Got there right as tip-off went off. We didn't have about half the equipment that we needed. A few wires here and there were missing, and apparently our microphone wasn't on. So our man Chase Younts, who made his debut on the floor, you couldn't hear anything he was saying. Poor guy. I mean, he was saying some fire stuff. He had great analysis. You couldn't hear anything. So for our YouTube video that got, the most views we've ever gotten on Chatterbox Bearcats and didn't have a microphone, that stings. But we're going to talk about it now, man. It was over from the second it was tipped off. UC is much better than Ohio State. I know it's an exhibition game. There's weird rotations. But, dude, it wasn't even close. Like, Cincinnati was on another level from a Big Ten school. Granted, one as a new coach. Granted, one that may not be that good. But it was an ass-kicking, man. An ass-kicking.
The preseason rankings, I know it doesn't mean a whole lot, like the Ken Palm. Ohio State's supposed to be relatively good. So, like a top 35 team. And, I mean, we beat the brakes off them. Like, start to finish, like you said, it was never close. I think if it was a real game, we could have won that game by 30+. I mean, we had our walk-on in with 10 minutes left in the game. And the guy that really stood out, and it was beautiful to see, Dylan Mitchell, man, former McDonald's All-American. He's the real deal. And if you didn't see the clips, check Twitter. It's all over the place. He had a couple alley-oop slams, some blocks. Our defense was all over the place. We're so long. We're so athletic. I think this is a top 10 team. I really do. And this isn't just because we saw the exhibition game. This roster is so deep. And Fifth Third was rocking. Hell, we got homecoming. We just beat Arizona State. You being a UC fan, hey, ain't that bad right now. I'm feeling pretty good.
No, last year was tough though. We had to suffer through last year. You crawl to walk to run, and right now we're sprinting, baby. We're like Forrest Gump, running down the field like we're on Alabama. I mean, good God, that was. I mean, we got Day Thomas as our backup point guard. You got to feel as comfortable about your backup point guard as any in the country, because Day comes off the bench and just brings a different speed, right? As soon as you saw that lineup off the bench, it was all gas, no brakes. And the starting lineup can move a little too. But that lineup with him and then Arrington Page at 6'11" runs incredible for his size. He can soar. Dylan Mitchell is going to be, man. I was talking about how I think Jizzle James is our go-to guy. Based on game one, he knocked down 2 threes, missed a bunch of his shots, deferred a little bit, getting everyone involved. But it was really Dylan Mitchell who stood out, 6 of 6 from the floor. Crazy oop. Some great block shots. Lukosius hit some threes. Josh Reed hit both his threes off the bench. CJ Frederick only played 3 minutes. That's when you know your team's deep. The list goes on and on. Betsy, I didn't think Betsy was as athletic as I thought he was going to be, given that he was a top 45 recruit in the country. But what he is he's fluid. He seems like he can get his shot off whenever. Hand in his face, knocked one down to start. Is always looking for a shot. I mean, he's a freshman. He comes in, plays 15 minutes, and shoots 5 threes. So he's going to be a volume shooter. But in terms of him, like getting to the rack consistently, big-time throwdowns, if you were thinking maybe that was a part of his repertoire, I don't think so. But maybe he just has a weird fluidity and movement about him, and he actually can soar. I don't know. Or maybe it's the fact that he wears the T-shirt underneath his jersey like he's in the 4th grade, and that tends to make you look like you're Chad Moore out there or something and can't really throw down. I don't know, though. Your thoughts on some of the role players? I know you were high on Rayvon Griffith.
Yeah. Well, first off, with Betsy, he's got kind of more of an old man game. But he's got a really pretty. He didn't knock down a ton of shots. I think he was like 2 for 7, something like that.
They were on the line though. Yeah.
But he's got a pretty stroke. So and like you said, he can get a shot off on anyone. He's 6'8", man. So if he can shoot remotely consistently, I think he's gonna have a spot in this rotation. Rayvon only played about, like we said, that apparently you can't hear us at all. He only played about 10 minutes in the scrimmage, but I didn't even notice that. I thought he played for about 20 because the impact that he had. He's just, deflections, rebounds. He had a nice dunk. He had a 3 right off the bat. And he was getting the crowd going too. Like the passion that Rayvon has is it's inspiring. I wanted to tackle the world after I saw Rayvon Griffith play. So I was excited about a lot of the guys, man. Hickman didn't do a whole lot. I think he had 2 points on a layup at the end. He was missing threes, but he looked pretty active defensively. I think people were worried about that. Maybe the cliche of the white kid out there. But he looked pretty active defensively. He's definitely an athlete, that's for sure. So I thought we saw positives from almost every guy that got on the floor, man. So you got to be excited if you're a UC fan for this upcoming season.
Yeah, I thought the fact that we put up 80 with, just hockey rotations, essentially. I mean, subbing 5 in, 5 out at some points, and we're able to really do whatever we wanted against Ohio State, shoot 38% from 3, hold the Buckeyes to 35% from the floor, and then just the length and the switching on everything and the talking on defense. It really made Ohio State look like an awful basketball team. Maybe that proves to be the case and they're not very good. All I know is the win means nothing. It's an exhibition game, but the way they won it has to get you excited if you are a Cincinnati Bearcats fan. So once again, Bearcats win 2 this weekend. An 18-point drubbing over Ohio State, a 10-point win over the Arizona State Sun Devils. We are going to have the live postgame shows for football and basketball overlapping here soon. Content galore, midday week shows. So if you are a fan of the program, right now, while I got you here, pull out your phone, go to the podcast app, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get it. Go to Chatterbox Bearcats. Find the show. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe. Hit the 5-star review. Leave a comment that says, Houdini, take your shirt off. And we really appreciate that. And then subscribe to the to Chatterbox Sports and to our Chatterbox Bearcats Instagram page as well for nonstop Bearcats content. We were actually planting seeds. So Danny and myself, we got a stack of business cards. And we have the QR codes on the business cards. And we were just, flinging them all over the stadium. Oh, drop one here. Put one on the top of the toilet. We put one at the bar in Covington afterwards. Just planting seeds. Letting everyone know that there's a Bearcat podcast in town that talks little cats, that keeps it real, and every once in a while has a little Corona on air. Houdini, any final words after a win before you go and enjoy your Saturday night, buddy?
Oh, yeah, I think I'm going to hit the Blink show here. Check it out. Final words, man. It's a great time to be a Cats fan. It is a great time to be a Cats fan. Enjoy it while you can, folks, because I think this is going to be fun for the rest of the football season. And this basketball team, I might just plug them into the Final Four right now.
That is what I love to hear. Chatterbox Bearcats, we're always here for you. Thank you for making it a part of your day.